Well, howdy, 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 and welcome back once again to the Withlacoochee River Report, the report where you'll be highly offended by my compelling rhetoric. Yes, once in a great while I do run some steam. Oh, we gonna die on that hill over there? Why don't you follow me through the intro and we'll get into it when we get back. And we're back. Yep, that's my 1995-1996 era 080. Well, that lightweight train, I guess if I took that Atlas 50-foot boxcar out of there, it would probably pull those plastic cars right up over the... See, the engine is Lionel, the caboose is MTH, and everything else is Atlas. That was the 080, I guess that it, and I don't know if that was the only release they did with the full valve gear. I'm not sure. It was in the 1990s. The entire sound system is in the tender. My other 080, which was one of the later Lion Chief models, turned to garbage on me. So it's kind of sitting in parts in a box somewhere. But that one there, oh, this one's great. I actually paid $100 for that one. It needs to be weathered, as does that caboose. But you can see how that thing runs nice and smooth. Yep, that brings me to the point. Today's blog here, or vlog, where we're going to talk about collectors and collecting. You know, by the very nature of our hobby, we are all collectors. We all have to collect stuff to get enough stuff to actually run, which makes sense. I mean, we got to collect our engines, our rolling stock, to have enough stuff to pull behind our trains, behind our engines. We got to collect track in order to be able to build the railroad. And to go beyond that, we got to collect the, well, in my case, scrap lumber, because that's basically what this railroad is built with. It's scrap lumber. And and so whether you buy your lumber new or used, and you got to collect tools because you got to do your own carpentry work, and you got to collect wire and all the other things that make the railroad run. And I've got one heck of a collection of power packs and transformers. Okay, to me it's a big collection of power packs and transformers. But yeah, the entire train there is Atlas cars. The 40-foot cars and including those stock cars are all the old Atlas from the 1970s, and then there's one of the more modern, much heavier box cars is that 50-foot double door box car. But that train pulls it just fine. When I still had that gondola attached, it wouldn't get over that little hump over here, but it seems to now. By the very nature of our hobby, we are all collectors. But some of us, we collect our trains to enjoy them. And some of us are speculators. Speculators are, you know, they're determined to ruin our hobby for us. Because they're the kind of people that want everything limited run so that their speculations pay off. They've ruined HO and N scale to the nth degree, unbelievably. Because I mean, you know, you were talking about engines back in the early '90s, you late '80s, early '90s. Yeah, the prices started going up on engines. That was probably due to partly demographics and partly due to material costs and tooling costs. Yeah, I get that. I understand that. But then all of a sudden, now it's $500 for an Athearn AB set of I guess, what did Horizon, a Genesis, Athearn Genesis F units, you know, nearly $500, and it's been that way for 20 years. And all because they added DCC, which probably isn't more than about 30 cents worth of parts. And of course they add all those details that, and I remember the day that Dana got that AB set of B&O Athearn F units, Athearn Genesis F units. They were nice. They ran beautifully. They looked great. No question of that. And then all of a sudden the details, just not even weeks later, the details are falling off left and right. And that was another thing. We decided we wanted more accurate looking models, and that drove the prices up. But it wasn't, the problem wasn't with the guys that were operators or people that, you know, buy their trains to actually enjoy their trains. The problem has always been with the speculators. The ones that buy a bunch of trains thinking they're going to make a whole bunch of money down the road. You know, one thing, there's no hobby out there that's worth getting into. You know, model cars, model trains, model airplanes, it doesn't matter. There's no hobby worth getting into that you're going to make a whole bunch of money on. Yeah, there are a few that have made a bunch of money. There's a few guys out there that, they bought brass engines back in the day, and they may have paid $400 or $500 a piece for some of those brass engines, and then just a few years later they were able to sell them for $900 to $1,100 a piece. Yeah, they made a little money on them, but that wasn't they didn't buy them with that purpose. The speculators are the ones that they buy everything buy one of everything Lionel makes, and then they put it in a closet in the box. I think, we're all collectors to some degree. Eric Seagull of Eric's Trains, for instance, he's a collector. He has a train collection that's unbelievable, but he buys them to enjoy them. He doesn't buy them to make a whole bunch of money off of. He buys them. He shows them off. He actually runs them on his layout. When he has time. Yeah, I don't know if I'd ever have time to run everything on a layout like that size if I had the kind of money and kind of collection. I don't know. If I was in the kind of business he's in, maybe I would. I'm not in the business he's in. He obviously makes good money. He's able to afford that stuff. Good for him. I'm happy for him. Do I wish I could afford some of it? Sure. But I'm not going to fret over it. But he doesn't buy his trains with the idea that he's going to make money on them down the road. Does he get paid for his special runs with his road name on them, from Lionel and stuff? He might get a little something out of it, might get a few royalties out of it. But I don't think he's all that concerned about that. See, he's a different kind of collector. He's the guy that enjoys his trains. These guys that are speculators, like I said, they'll buy everything Lionel makes in a catalog, and then turn around and put it on a shelf or in a closet somewhere, leave it in the box for 20 years and think they're going to make a big profit on it. And then when they don't make the big profit they thought they were going to make, well, they're disappointed. Yeah. Then of course, the new owner who thinks he got a great deal on that fantastic Legacy 3 locomotive 20 years from now can't figure out why he can't get it to run. Well, because it was never run when it was pulled out of the box. Electronics, strangely enough, electronics are like a lot of things. They have got to be exercised to make them work. So, the next guy that comes along thinks he's got a great deal on that Legacy 3 engine, 20 years from now, and it's never been out of the box. He thinks he's got a great deal. It's never been out of the box. Problem is, it's never been out of the box. It never got programmed. It never got worked. It never got ran. And, you got to figure, well, over that period of time, any of the lubricants and the mechanical parts, like the gears and stuff, that stuff could harden up, and that could cause problems. Then you have the electronics. Well, the electronics certainly didn't get programmed. And as we all know, something that was the big cheese, 10, 20 years ago, you can't even work it in your computer today. The big games from 30 years ago that we used to buy, you remember the big games? I still have Trains Simulator on my computer. Okay? I think I've got TRS 2019 is the latest one. The latest one that's available is TRS 22. But I think I've got TRS 19 on mine. And I've got TANE on my computer. And my computer is about 7 or 8 years old. They work fine. They probably, those versions of the game, when I do get a new computer, will probably work fine in that new computer as well. But there's a lot of games that we used to buy back in the day that don't work in today's computers. You can't load them. Oh well, that's just the way it is. The computer technology moves forward, whereas the software you've got on hand that you're wanting to put into that computer is maybe 20 years old. Well, that's ancient by in high tech. That's ancient. 6 months ago is ancient history. So yeah, just to warn you. But the speculators, they get in there and they ruin the hobby for the rest of us because it's them that keep the prices high. I realize some folks think that it's well worth it, and if you've got that kind of money, you want to spend your money on that, you go right ahead. Me, I'll continue to go and collect my trains at train shows, and I'll get what I can get. And if I can't get the overpriced stuff, I can't get the overpriced stuff. That's all there is to it. I'll just have to live with it. Oh well, it's okay. It's okay. Like I said, all of us are collectors. Just by our very nature, we're all collectors. Just by the nature of the hobby itself, we're all collectors. And it's not just this hobby. Model car hobby, you want, ain't no garage. We can't all have Jay Leno's garage, at least not in the full size world. I'm also a car guy. So, do I have any real hot rods? No. Do I have any real antique cars? No. Would I like some? Sure. I can't afford them. And nobody really can right now. Another thing that's happening, I think that as far as collecting goes, I think as far as the high price of collecting goes, we've hit the zenith. We've hit the top. We can't really push it any further. I don't think the market will bear it much. Oh, sure, your Lionel 700E, an original 700E, especially a good one, is still going to run you big bucks. Yeah, and that's understandable. And the 773 is going to do the same thing. It's going to run you big bucks for what it is. So, and just by its provenance, I was watching Brad the Guitologist the other day. The Guitologist is it's a channel on YouTube, and he was speculating. He was talking about has the time for guitar collecting, because remember, just a few years ago, guitar collecting was the hottest thing. You couldn't buy enough guitars, and here's the thing: you couldn't buy enough cheap guitars. And one of the things he pointed out was, the prices are going to have to come down eventually. And you'll be able to sell that stuff in the future, but you're going to have to sell it at the right price, even if the right price happens to be for free. And there's a lot of, we had everybody out of China. You had the Gibsons, which is fake Gibson guitars. We had and so there's fakes coming in from China all the time. You had the Glaries and Fireflies. These are all cheap Chinese-made guitars. Some of them are really pretty good. I've got a Glary in the house. It's a Telecaster. It plays okay and everything. I don't think it's as good as their as their Stratocaster knockoff, but it's a pretty decent knockoff. It plays well. I do have a real Stratocaster. It's by Fender. It's what was that called? I forgot. But the company is owned by Fender, and they do make Stratocaster. It's kind of like Gibson owns Epiphone, so you can get an Epiphone Les Paul. And you can get an Epiphone Les Paul Classic. And they're probably about a third as much as a real Gibson Les Paul. Because your real Gibson Les Paul is going to run you. You get that with a Marshall stack, you're talking, probably a bare minimum, getting the bottom of the line, anything out of Gibson is probably around $5,000, $6,000. And by the time you pay for that Marshall stack, you're probably looking at upwards of $10,000. But again, that's going to have to change, because these guitars, they're not selling like they did just a couple of years ago. Just a couple of years ago, they were going like crazy. And it's pretty much turning out to be the same thing with model trains. Even at the shows, I noticed that, I'm not able to get as much. There doesn't seem to be as much good stuff showing up at the shows. It does show up. It's great that it shows up. But all too often, you get into these train shows, and even the train shows anymore, you got people there that all they want to do is make money, and they do not give a damn whether you can afford it or not. They want your money. That's all they're there for. So we possibly in this hobby have hit our zenith as well. We've hit the very top, tippy top of the top where we can hit it, and there's really no place for the prices to go but back down. Houses are not selling right now, so I haven't been working much lately in the housing market like I normally do. I can usually make a few $100s a week. See, I'm kind of halfway retired, so, I get my Social Security every month, but that certainly isn't enough to make. I mean, this is July 4th. I'll be working tonight at a party. I'll be working security there. But, again, that's one day out of the whole week. This whole week I have not had any work. I do have other work coming up, but it's kind of sparse. It's few and in between, So we're not really pulling ahead financially this summer. Does that have anything to do with the big beautiful bill? No, I'm hoping the big beautiful bill helps to straighten some of that out and gets us back on track. Gets these houses moving again, gets the price of housing down a little bit again. It needs to come down. See, that's another thing. People that collect houses. Yeah, I know those are very, very few people that do that, but it's time to start getting these houses into an affordable situation again. We don't want to see another housing bubble like we did in 2008. But that's the way things are going right now. So until then, until we can actually do something and get the doldrums and get this economy on fire again. See, it might be on fire in other places in the country, but it's really not on fire here like it was. And things have slowed a little bit here in Central Florida. And I don't look for it to stay slow for long, but it's things are a little bit slow. So I'm hoping that that's going to change soon. But anyway, as I was saying, the collector, like I said, by nature, all of us are collectors. And it's one thing to have a collection that you show off. It's one thing to have a collection of stuff that you can run on your model railroad. It's quite another when you're a speculator and you just keep it in the box forever. I know, if you can find a 700E with its original box and everything, and it's never been pulled out of the box or run, yeah, I know that's probably worth $1 million, but you know that those things never happen. It's kind of like that finding that 63 Corvette, you know, split window coupe sitting in the barn, and the old widow that sold it for $100. Yeah, we'd love to see that, wouldn't we? That doesn't happen anymore either. With the advent of the internet, certain things happen. Some are beneficial to us, some are not. I remember a few years back when I was looking to get my hands on on just one Atlas F9 from the 1970s, and I found 3 of them in one shot. And I paid like $18 for the, I think with shipping I paid about $25 for the whole batch. And I was glad to get that. Very happy to get that. I think I found a couple more. You just love looking at that Train spelled with a Z, and you go into their 2-rail listings, and you see these F9s pop up, and they're trying to get $50 a piece for them, or worse, they get somebody who did a little extra detailing on them. Oh, this is special. Let's get $200 for it, and then they wonder why it doesn't sell. Well, that's why. You see, but those old Atlas F9s, they do carry some value. They're worth about $25 a piece if they're still sitting in their original box. It's about what they're worth. Which, if you account for inflation, that makes them worth about $1 a piece if they're still sitting in their original box. If you go back in time to 1970, I think they sold new for around $20, maybe $25 when they were first brought out, and then the price dropped later in the 1970s to around $15. So. And the freight cars remained right at about $6 a piece. And in fact, they actually dropped in price. I remember America's Hobby Center advertisements where they were like, you know, $1.99 a piece. And that's all ready to run. You pull it out of the box, set it on the track, couple it up. And like I said, those stock couplers will couple up to KDs, or they'll couple up to 3-rail O-gauge couplers. They do well. Oh well, I think I've gone far enough this week to make some people angry. Anyway, I'll look for you out on the rails. Till next week, or next time, happy railroading.